Welcome to Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. You are going to hear the stories from the eclectic life of a guy who is a professional counselor, a family man, a SWAT team chaplain, outdoor enthusiast, a guy involved with ropes, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, a chaotic Jedi, and who is a recipient of an honorary doctorate from the University of Adversity. Using these stories, we take the facts lead to concepts, and from the concepts we make a variety of life applications. Just a caveat about the facts. Most of the time we will tell you the facts just the way it happened, but once in a while we'll give you the facts the way other people remember how it happened, and that usually includes a tablespoon of embellishment. No harm is meant, just good, clean fun for educational purposes. Please subscribe and share this with your friends or your enemies. It might help them to be better people if they listen. As always, we thank you for keeping up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Introducing the Bible degree with digital ministry. Paul used the marketplace and the synagogue to reach an expanded audience. We have access to the internet and social media. I once heard it said that when McDonald's introduced the drive-through window, they did not change the Big Mac, only how it was delivered. Faulkner University is now offering a new digital ministry track for their Bible degree. Faulkner's degree provides training in understanding and teaching the gospel, alongside training that will allow students to create quality digital content. Opportunities for evangelism in the digital spaces is unlimited, and this is innovative ministry education for our contemporary culture. One of the instructors is a 2-time Emmy-winning former ESPN designer. Members of the Church of Christ could be eligible for the full tuition Jack Zorn Scholarship in order to pursue this special area of study. For more information, contact admissions at faulkner.edu. That is admissions at faulkner.edu. Faulkner University is a digital partner with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. The first Terminator bow came from the Lonnie Jones Wile-E Labs in early 2007. And just for clarity, that is Wile-E Coyote Labs and not Wiley Labs, the respected engineering firm in Huntsville, Alabama, of the same name but different spelling. The inspiration for the Terminator bow came from the movie, the 1984 movie featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he carried, as the robot Terminator, the T-800, he carried with him the AMT Hardballer Long Slide 45 pistol. And on top of that was a large, distinctive prototype laser sight created by Laser Products Corporation. Now, this group would later become Surefire, and if you've done anything with flashlights or lasers or optics, you know who the Surefire company is. There's a poster depicting Arnold as the Terminator, and he's holding this big pistol, and on top of that pistol is this laser sight. And I would have borrowed money to bet that on that poster there's a thin red line going out of the top of the poster coming from this laser sight. I would have been wrong and lost all my money because, you see, lasers aren't visible to the naked eye. They're only visible when they bounce off something. If you see a laser line in a movie, it's either Hollywood special effects or the laser has bounced off some dust, some water droplets, some air molecules in a thing called Rayleigh scattering. When you shine light into water, water causes a refraction and makes objects appear higher or more shallow than they are. So this has an implication for bow fishing. You see, when you're bow fishing, you always aim low. That's what we tell people. You can't aim low enough. In fact, Daryl Pickle says aim stupid low. This is because when the light hits the water, there is an angle of incident and it causes the light to bend, and the fish will appear at a different depth. You're shooting at a fish, and the fish is not where the fish appears to be. If you could figure out every single time exactly what the light did, just how deep that fish really was, how this incident affected the light, then you could correctly aim at the fish and not just be point shooting all the time. A laser refracts in water just like light does. And if you could set up a laser on your bow and shine it into the water, it would point at where you're supposed to shoot. Now, it's interesting that not only will a laser bend going into the water, a laser will bend coming out of the water. You see, a laser can be trapped underwater. If you shined a laser at a specific angle from underneath the water, instead of shining out of the water, it would bend at the surface of the water and become trapped. It cannot escape. You can shine a laser through a plastic bottle filled with water. Now, you need to put something in the water to cloud it up a little bit so you can really see the line clearly. But you can shine a laser through a plastic bottle, and if you go to the opposite side of the bottle from where you have the laser and you punch a hole in that bottle, when the water begins to flow out, the laser will get trapped in that water flow and bend and follow that downflowing stream like a fiber optic cable, demonstrating the principle of what they call total internal refraction. Now, I didn't know any of this in 2007. I just wanted to have a bow that had a laser on it so I could shoot fish. I took some PVC pipe and some all-thread wire and created this laser mount to go on my bow, and I adjusted it so that where the red dot shined, the arrow would hit, thus creating the first laser guided bow. I had revolutionized bow fishing. I was going to test this concept on bullfrogs, and it worked like a charm. I could go frog gigging and really not even have to have a powerful light. I just had to have a light to show me where to point the red light. I became the frog terminator. I could see myself in a similar posture, wearing a black leather jacket, wraparound sunglasses, holding my bow at a perpendicular angle, and saying the words, "I'm looking for Kermit the Frog. He dates the pig." But they didn't make a poster out of me because, you see, it turns out that shooting frogs, toads, turtles, snakes, and fish with a laser mounted on your bow is not technically legal. At least that's what the gentleman who wears the green pants told me. At this point, at a weak moment, I'm tempted to add, I'm tempted to embellish, I'm tempted to say that this gentleman said, "Hey, what you're doing at this frog pond with this laser-mounted bow is illegal." And so I began to run away from him, and he yelled, "Stop, gay Mormon!" And so I ran faster. But that joke has already been all over the YouTube universe, and I'm not going to lower myself to that kind of humor. Now, I have several rifles that have lasers on them, and the lasers are mounted in an aid to aiming. Lasers on your weapon are not the universal answer to targeting that Hollywood would have you think. There's a lot of science that goes into that. There's all kind of stuff on the interwebs that tell you how to use and not use a laser. It has to do with the fact that a laser travels a straight line, and it depends on, is your laser mounted above or below or beside your gun. Your bullet travels a parabolic arc. Lots of stuff involved in that. That's not really why I'm on this rant. The reason I'm on this rant, and made me think of my original bow sight, my original laser-sighted bow, is because I got my very first laser bore sight. Now, Santa left it in the air ducts along with a new pair of shoes and bullets for John McClane on Christmas Eve. Gifts, snacks, and presents are left in stockings and under the tree, but tactical stuff is always left by the jolly elf in the air ducts. A laser bore sight is just that. It is a laser that fits in the bore of your firearm. The beam is projected onto a target, ideally, 25 or 50 yards or less. And then you look at this dot that's projected, and you adjust your iron sights, your red dot sight, or the reticles on your scope. And then your point of aim becomes your point of impact. Now, depending on the bore sight you choose, some of the bore sights fit externally. They stick into the bore. And some of them are chambered specifically for the weapon, and you put them actually inside, and the laser shines all the way through the barrel. Those are much more accurate than the ones that fit on the outside. The reason they're much more accurate than the ones that fit on the outside is there must be perfect alignment in the horizontal and vertical planes. A bullet that fits in the chamber is held on all sides in a 360-degree little grip because of the chamber of the weapon. the thing that you put a little adapter on and stick in the end of your barrel, it can sag, it can drift, it can be warped. And if that laser is not perfectly centered, then the beam that you're adjusting to, the dot that you're trying to shine out there and line up your sights, you might think that it's in the right direction. It's a perfectly straight line, yes, but it's slightly wrong. And that imaginary line from the rifle barrel and the laser must be exactly the same. And if they're not perfectly the same, if they're not perfectly coincidental, if an incidental angle is introduced, you will never hit what you're aiming at. And the further the distance, the worse it becomes. Now, neither of these things actually affects the bullets. The bullet is only affected by wind and gravity. The path of the bullet is determined by the shooter, but the shooter has to decide what he's sending that bullet toward. And if he's sending the bullet toward an inaccurate target, his accuracy is going to be off. You may think you're shooting in the right direction, but the truth is revealed. The truth and accuracy of our perception and our choices is revealed by whether we hit or whether we miss the target. Now, if all this gun talk is too confusing, just imagine two lines, and it doesn't have to come out of a gun. It would be two lines projecting into infinity. If the two lines are not exactly overlaid, they're not perfectly synced, or more specifically, if they are not coincidental, then that slight angle, that incidental angle, and it doesn't matter if it's up, down, left, right, that angle will get increasingly larger, or the distance, not the angle, the distance will get increasingly larger the further away from the point of origin that you get. A 1 degree angle difference at the point of origin would result in these two lines separating gradually and then getting further apart. Specifically, they would be 5 feet apart at 100 yards. At 200 yards, it'd be 9 feet apart. At 300 yards, it'd be 15 feet apart. An error at the original incident self-propagates and increases over distance. And for our purposes, we don't want to talk about distance. We want to talk about how things can get worse over time. Now, a compass works the same way. If you follow a 1 degree error in your compass, you'll be off 5 feet at 100 yards. You'll be off 92 feet at a mile. If you had a straight line going from Huntsville to Orange Beach and you introduced a 1 degree difference to the west, you'd end up in the Mississippi Sound or the Western Mobile Bay area. But your conscience works that way too. You see, there's two lines. The line I should follow and the line I actually follow. Ideally, they are the same. They are coincidental. But if one of those lines, what I should do, if one of those lines gets adjusted, bumped, angled, or skewed, we almost always follow the adjusted line. We almost always follow the damaged line or the divergent line, and I don't know why. We are just vulnerable to those errors and thoughts in judgment when things happen incidentally to us. You see, when we were young, beginning to learn, creating our sense of self, our sense of other people, our sense of our past, our sense of present, our sense of our world, or even our sense of God and our understanding and perception or interpretation, if as we're beginning to build those skills and those worldviews, and an incident was introduced that caused your angle to get skewed, adjusted, warped, and I mean even a little, and then we let that incident cause us to veer off the path, then the longer we believe these things to be true or accurate, the further we go away from the point of the incident, the greater the gap in our accuracy becomes. The longer we believe something that is not true, or at least not accurate, about yourself, others, your past, your present, or God, The longer you believe these things, the further away you get from being able to find what is accurate or true. See, our accurate perception, our accurate beliefs, our accurate interpretation, we can't find the truth. You see, if we are affected by our incident to any degree, our subsequent responses, actions, reactions, interactions, or behaviors will all be traveling down the wrong path. And the longer we believe these things, the further away from optimal, accurate, and healthy our beliefs and behaviors become. Don't think of that in terms of, hey, did I believe this for 5 yards, 10 yards, or 15 yards? Time is distance and distance is time. Think about, I had this incident and I put this angle on it and I follow that angle for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. The longer you travel in that direction, the larger the gap gets between your beliefs, your behaviors, your perceptions, and what is true, good, right, accurate, and healthy. Just think about the 1 degree of divergence. Now, we use that just to make a simple illustration. But with trauma, abuse, neglect, perceived inadequacies, inappropriate guilt, shame, self-worth, or powerlessness, our divergence, the adjustment of our angle that was caused by the incident, that thing that affects the course we follow, that impact is always going to be much, much greater than a simple, mere single degree. Now, if a slight adjustment, if a single degree can have a profound effect over time, just think how powerful those major adjusting events have the potential to be. Just think about the potential those events have to disrupt our target of health, our prosperity, our balance, our peace, our joy, our self-worth, our self-love, or even our ability to love other people. The cruel thing about this is that when you get these angles of incident and you get these incidents that change your angle, you're generally traveling in the right direction. But the longer we hold these beliefs, the further off track we'll get. See, as I said, these life-adjusting events often are not little or minute. They are far, far more serious and impactful than a mere degree. And even a degree has a significant effect. But the danger is not in the severity of the adjustment, but in the subtlety of the adjustment. See, we often fail to realize when and how we shifted. Our thinking tells us this is normal. And because it's incidental, because it's not maybe a big deal at first, because that degree doesn't affect us that much, that angle doesn't really bother us. And because nobody reads our thoughts and we don't read anybody else's thoughts, we never get a check for accuracy. And we may never even realize what went wrong until we end up being somewhere where we did not intend to be. You see, when we talk about trauma-informed therapy, there's this phrase that we teach. We say, when you're interviewing somebody or somebody's talking about bad behavior or even witnessing bad behavior, you don't ask what's wrong with you. The better question is to ask what happened to you. But in answering the what happened to you, that gives you the story, that gives you the context, that tells you where you were and when you were when this thing happened or changed. But really, in talking about adjusting these angles because of these incidents, the more powerful question is, hey, what happened to you? And what does it mean to you? And then ask, does this mean what you think it means? What angle do you look at this incident from? What angle did you give this? Bullets are affected by wind and gravity. They are pulled to earth and can drift in the wind. Lasers can be refracted or reflected. People are traumatized, abused, neglected, abandoned, betrayed, disappointed, and we fail. The incident is not as important as the angle we are told it has. The incident is not as important as the angle we choose to give it. We either adjust to those incidents or allow those incidents to adjust to us. Or more correctly, we allow those incidents to adjust us. How we adjust to those things are basically based on the meanings, the angles we give those things, the validity of those meanings, the validity of those interpretations, the validity of those beliefs, to the degree that they are accurate. That's the difference in them becoming an incident or just becoming incidental. Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to 3Ws and a dot, worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.